But like, how does it feel having finished this album, Rejuvenate? Like, how are you feeling right now?
I feel good, man. I mean, it's always like a mixture of like feeling really, really good, and then automatically kind of, it's like trying to stay in the present without moving on too quick. You know, it's kind of like it's you really, really want to do the next thing and get really excited about doing the next thing. Part of that's probably like anxiety as well. You know, like gotta get it. You
Yeah.
know, the next thing's got to be even better, and you got to do this and got to do that. So, I mean, that's drive, isn't it? That's a good thing, but sometimes you forget and then you need to just stop and say, hey, actually, I've just had an album out. Let me like appreciate that for a minute.
Yeah, it's soak in because Drive doesn't really Drive isn't concerned with patting yourself on the back, with stopping and being
No.
like, you know what, I've accomplished a lot of interesting things in my life and let me savor this. Drive
So
is like you're being hunted by a beast or something and you have to keep running, you know.
totally, totally, totally. Yeah, I suppose, you know, the trick is to make friends as well as you can. So
Mm.
at least when it runs up behind you, you can go, hey, hey, you know, I knew you were coming. Let's be a team.
Yeah, definitely. That's another thing I'm learning a lot about lately, and I don't know why it took me until 30 to realize that like I need to ask for help when I need it, and I can't do everything on my own. And it's
Yeah,
just it seems so obvious to say it, but like we're more powerful, you know, putting our brains together to make something.
sure, no, for sure. It does. I mean, it's a funny one. I mean, I've been exactly the same. I mean, it's only been in the last kind of, you know, year and a half that I really started getting other people in the room and really collaborating and opening the door, you know, to other people and opening up more room for yourself. You know, it's, yeah,
Mm.
asking for help is it's, yeah, I don't know why it's hard and it does take a while. It's taken me this, you know, taken me a long time too. I suppose you do things on your own for only a certain amount of time and you just feel like you're going crazy because you're
Mm.
living inside your own mind just 24/7.
Right, and I know that like creative visions can sometimes feel like you benefit from being a control freak, right? Because you have a very specific idea and you're just manifesting it, and you can beat yourself to death and work yourself like a dog because no one else is there but you know. But like
Sure,
you include
sure,
other people, and it's like you sort of realize, oh man, okay, this is a collaboration, and it's
sure.
you learn so much about yourself that way. I love it. I
You do. You do. Me too. Yeah, you learn so much about yourself and you learn so much information from other people. And, you know, I think a lot of like these, you know, yeah, it's very understated. I mean, when I look back at so-called golden eras of music, it was, you know, groups of people doing it together.
mm,
You know, you look at like the so-called jazz golden era, you know, like everyone was sharing knowledge. You know, Thelonious Monk would be teaching Miles Davis chords on the piano, and, you know, everyone was in it together and they were pushing an art form, you know.
mm.
Sure, there were egos and people wanted to gain things themselves, but they were doing it for the music. You know, I think that's people need to remember that nowadays, especially with all this media and, you know, like instant fame and people wanting everything for themselves. And you shoot art and yourself in the foot by not opening up, you know.
I like how you talk about, you know, doing things for the music and sort of thinking of it as, you know, this is a lineage that we all come from. I mean, you and I both
Mm,
have this, we share this thing where, you know, when we were younger, and I mean even now, it's like we're deeply moved by these things that are created by people now and people who have died way before. We're just moved
sure,
so deeply to want to live in that realm and contribute to this thing that they come from, whatever it
sure.
is, you know.
Yeah, totally, totally. I mean, you know, yeah, I always think of music. Music is like a being to me, you know. So just, you know,
Please
you
tell me,
get,
please tell me more.
um, you know, so it's a being, it's an entity, it's a life that's given me so much over the years, you know, ever since being a little kid. I mean, so many of us, right? You know, I mean, music touches us so deep, so young, and it's like an ultimate companion and like love affair for your life. So I, you know, I want to like respect it and give back to the music. You know what I mean? It's like I
Mm.
really do see it as like this energy in this world. You know,
I'm, you know, I wouldn't consider myself a spiritual person, but I know that there are things that I can't ignore as I get older. Like this feeling that when I give more to creativity and, like I was saying before, give more to this idea that I have to include other people in my visions and sort of help any way I can. It Everything gives back to me more. I feel more healthy. I feel the
yeah,
ego, like my ego is not like gnawing at my feet as much, and just everything is it's more complete and like right.
totally.
Everything's more right that way.
It's true, isn't it? Yeah, and it's a funny. yeah, it's kind of, everyone tells you to kind of go for yourself, but you don't actually realize by helping, by kind of concentrating so much on yourself. It's weird. You can kind of, you make yourself miserable. Actually, so much happiness
Mm,
comes from opening up and helping I don't know, yeah, opening up. You know what I mean? Like opening
yeah,
up to other people, to other things, and people don't realize. I mean, I'm just learning all this as well.
yeah.
So learning all this myself, more and more and more, like every day. How much you get back from that, letting go of yourself, and I mean,
Mm,
spirituality. I mean, it's a shame, spirituality. I think it's become like a, well, it's almost like a bad word. It's just a word, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
the amount of times I get called being a hippie and this and that. It's like, it's such a shame. These are just words, but actually, fundamentally, it's what we're all about.
Mm,
Really. I mean, words are very, very hard to describe real life.
definitely. And then there are ways. I mean, I'm sure you experience all this all the time, and people trying to get you to describe your music with words. And I mean, that's tough.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things ever for any art, I suppose. I remember that. Although going back to uni, you do a piece of music and it's like, okay, now you got to write about that piece of music. It's just like, oh, what
You want me to
and the
like
thing is,
degrade? Sorry, go ahead.
no, I mean, it's just you can't write the truth either. I mean, that's the trouble. The truth is, I just sat down. I didn't really think of anything. I turned off my brain, and 2 hours later or half an hour later, suddenly this piece of music arrived. It's like you can't write that. You got to say, like my girlfriend dumped me earlier on. I went
Right.
outside and got into a fight, got beat up, took some heroin, came home. Like there's got to be this massive story. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's got to be this big story behind things, but sometimes there is, but a lot of the time,
I mean, I don't know if we'll get back to this in a second. Paul
yeah,
White. I like to state the obvious here. We're in digital space. You and I have never met. We're not even looking at each other right now. So we're just kind of floating in the void, aren't we?
we are. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man.
Well, I'd like to turn this void into something a little more concrete. We can still make it something beautiful, but I want your help in orchestrating, just like taking whatever we see out there and just kind of making this into a physical space for this to exist on in the digital realm.
Sounds great.
Okay, what I'm going to tell you is this. You're in a room. You're in a rectangular room. There are four walls around you.
Okay, okay,
Solid walls.
okay.
What color do you see?
Blue, red, and yellow.
Hmm. So each wall is a different color, or are they alternating? Or,
They're different colors, so you can look at different moods depending on how you feel, and each of them has got a different energy and a different quality to it, representing all the different, qualities of yourself and of life.
are there any windows in the room?
Loads and loads of windows, as many windows as there can be. Um, Maybe there's like a button that you can press and it changes from the colors to actually just becoming a clear glass window that then looks out onto either the sun. So one side could be that yellow, or you can press another button, another wall, and the room that was blue suddenly evaporates and you see a blue ocean. And maybe that on the red side, you can hit a button and the red, evaporates and you can see it's just a clear window and you can see like a volcano.
Very awesome.
Let's do that.
All right, cool. So what I want to suggest to you is that let's say there's a glass bowl filled with water, sort of lukewarm room temperature water that's kind of sitting in this colorful red, blue, yellow room that's alternating. It's right there in front of you.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, if you reach into this bowl, I want to do this. If you can, imagine that your new album, Rejuvenate, is inside
Hmm.
of this bowl. It's a physical object. It's
Sure.
in the water. What would your
Okay.
album? What is your album in this physical form inside of this water bowl?
It's a seed that is going to hopefully grow and spread its leaves and eventually flower and grow into this big beautiful tree that can then change seasons and the leaves can fall. It changes, it evolves, it dies, it comes back to life, and it forms another, tree again.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Growing entity, living entity. That would be my ideal.
That's good. I like it. Like some of these tracks on this album, really, they to me feel like certain moments from my childhood. They seem to be like attached to ideas of like really, I don't know how to describe this, but sometimes I get these intense feelings of nostalgia for moments from when I was a child that I can't even put into words. Like I see, I think very visually, so I see imagery of it, but I always get this intense feeling like everything was kind of perfect back then, and like songs like Waves like really kind of hit me in like whatever that part of my brain is where that thing lives. It just keeps like tickling that. Like, did you feel that way when you were making Waves?
You know what, the honest truth, and I haven't told this story to anybody, but I'll happily say it to you. I wrote that song when I was flicking through the internet before I made it, and I saw my ex-girlfriend had got married, and it made me so happy. Like I felt such joy. I felt this like beautiful feeling. I was just so happy for her. That literally I wrote that track like immediately. And Waves, and that was Laugh With Me as well. So Waves and Laugh With Me was originally one song. So Waves was the intro to Laugh With Me, but then I separated out later. So that came from like a very like pure, like joyous feeling for someone.
That's really beautiful. I mean, it's that's one of my favorite songs on the album. I mean, it's just I had on repeat a bunch of times, and it was like I don't know what this thing is, but it's just making me like it was hypnotizing me. It was putting me in a beautiful place, man.
Thanks, man. No, that means a lot. That really means a lot. That's the ultimate compliment, to take someone on a mental journey and an emotional journey, because that's what I go on.
Do you feel like, so if the album is a seed and we're in this room, what do you imagine this will grow into? And I mean, obviously we could talk about the physical form of the plant, but like, that might be more interesting to talk about than what it will exist like in this world, right?
Sure. I mean, there's so many different ways you can go. I mean, I suppose what it can grow into. I mean, it could burst through the ceiling of the room, because in a way, like, music, I can kind of be myself and express myself maybe in a purer way than I can express myself, like physically or like speech wise. So maybe, it can have a whole life of it on its own. I mean, I always think of like when you're working tracks and writing albums, it's almost like you want to give it like all the qualities for it to be able to grow and live on the outside world on its own. So maybe it can burst through the roof. It can go on its own beautiful journey. It can grow so tall it touches all the ends of the universe, and then it sprouts off into different branches that then kind of leave, like, and then maybe at the end of each branch it like kind of opens up like a shell for like new things to grow, like, new opportunities for the music, for me, for the tracks. They can kind of have a life of themselves. I don't know. I mean, I could go off in a million and one ways. I have to stop myself.
No, this is good. I like it. It's good. I mean, I love hearing things like this, and I'm really interested in hearing more visual interpretations of how people feel. I mean, this is so fun to me to experience this, and
me too.
I'm interested in. I mean, the seed, the plant, I think works so well for Rejuvenate, and it's like. Rejuvenate to me feels like, I mean, although you composed this and controlled it, you seem like, I mean, you, like, correct me if I'm wrong, you're kind of like watching and letting this thing turn into what it needs to be.
Totally. I mean, that's how I write. I mean, I never sit down with a big idea in my mind. It's very just pure and letting things flow. And it's probably the time where the best tracks come when I just totally forget about everything else and just am totally kind of tranced out in that moment. I never try and do anything. I never like try and write a certain type of song to give it a certain type of feel, a certain type of energy. It grows by itself.
Did you have to train yourself to do the letting go part?
No, I mean, with music, that's always just been the way it is. I mean, people often ask, how do you, why do you do all these different styles? Like, do you wake up one day and decide to do a crazy track for someone like Danny Brown? And then, more of a soft track for me. I just get up and do it, and whatever comes out turns out. I mean, of course, on subconscious levels, I'm sure it's to do with feelings that I have inside me, and maybe what things I did yesterday and how I'm feeling. But again, like I leave it very, very pure. It's that kind of respect. Music can represent, just the pure kind of joy and natural, connection to some other energy in some other realm, and I kind of almost protect that by not trying,
Okay.
because I don't want to let my brain interfere. I always think you got to turn your brain off, when it comes to something like music. The more you think, you start analyzing, and being too analytical, you become judgmental and self-destructive. I mean, that's kind of like the ultimate message of the album, is to stop, I don't know, over-analyzing yourself. And, I mean, even when we try and help ourselves, we can come at such a kind of aggressive angle, like, I need to be better. I need, I'm not right. I need to meditate, become a better person. And, it's actually, you're most happy and most in the moment when you let those thoughts go, So
I definitely feel that pull to desire to be something better, but that
so do I.
yeah,
So do I.
it's
So the seed is probably for me, you know what I mean? The seed is like me, probably, the seed is really like, for me to be able, hoping that I can grow and I can, don't know, develop and grow different parts of me and touch the universe. That's probably where the seed comes from.
I like it. Now I want to sort of wrap this up by talking a little more tangibly about dreams
Sure,
and how you capture them.
sure.
Now,
Um,
let's say you wake up, you've had a really influential dream on you. Do you have the notebook next to you? Do you just remember it, or like speak it into?
sure. I mean, ones that are really, really amazing, I'll write down just to make sure, because I just don't want to forget it. Other ones have just been so incredible that I'll never, ever, ever forget it. I mean, I've had a few dreams that I'll never, ever, ever forget. They're just, incredibly powerful.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, that stuff. I think it really matters. I mean, no matter what you think about. I mean, philosophically, what humans are. Like
hmm,
my most powerful ideas have come from dreams or moments where this is a new one for me, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this. Is like if you've have you ever been like falling asleep while you were making music or doing something creative, and like
yep,
you start getting real loose and really weird. It
yep,
just
yep.
tapped
It's
into
an
some crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty unreal. Yeah, yeah. I remember one time almost kind of nodding off, like I was about to, like my head was about to hit the table. I was like, whoa, and I was still playing. I was like, that's crazy. How am I still, wow, what realm am I in right now?
I think you reach into some good subconscious stuff and have like your lizard brain is somehow it's still playing, it's still doing the thing that you've trained yourself
Sure.
to do since you were a kid.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
again, it's back to the letting go. So yeah, so writing it down is what you usually do.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, no, not all the time. I want to write them down more. Like I had my first lucid dream about a couple of years ago, and I've had a
Wow.
couple since, and that was just mind blowing. So I got a book, or someone gave me a book, actually, a friend of mine, and obviously that talks about you can try and encourage yourself to have more lucid dreams, and a big part of that is remembering every dream and writing them down. And
Mm.
um, yeah, I don't do that enough. But I mean, I mean, I'm sure many people do, but I have some unbelievable dreams. I mean, I used to smoke a lot of weed for many years, and I never ever remembered the dreams,
Oh.
which was so tragic. And whenever I did, they were always dark, like it was always nighttime, which was
Mm.
crazy to me. Like it was always like dark. And then I stopped smoking about a year and a half ago, and suddenly, because I knew I would have these amazing dreams and I missed them. And then
Yeah.
that's one of the best. That was one of the things I just had to stop. I was just like, I miss having my dreams,
Yeah.
because they're just so incredible. You
Is
travel to, I mean, I swear I met like Mother Nature in one dream. I saw like the beginning of the universe in another dream. And these incredible things, that stay with you forever.
I mean, it's a great resource that we have as artists and humans in general. And I mean, I was listening to some interview with some doctor who like studies sleep, and he was
Yeah,
talking about how you know like musicians and athletes and things and people will like experts at like tactile things will be doing what they do in their dreams. So like your fingers will be moving and you'll be playing music in your dreams. Your body will be solving problems. And I'm sure you've had this where you wake up and problems are just resolved. Creative problems are like, oh yeah, it's this is what it needs to be or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, emotion. I mean, I have those emotionally. You know, you're going through some kind of like trouble or trauma or you know something, and then you have this incredible kind of comforting, I don't know, message or to yourself, and it can change your whole life. You know, not long ago, coming out of a relationship, I had this incredibly like powerful dream. I was like walking up the side of a volcano, and there's all this lava like hitting me in the face, and it like really hurt. And it was burning, and I came to this massive lava pool going down the side of this volcano. And this big voice said, you know, like, this is going to hurt. You're going to be in lots of pain. And without thinking, I was just like, no, screw it. And jumped in. And everything just went black. And then there was no pain, you know, and there was nothing. And then I kind of like woke up in this little like country house in the middle of like the countryside somewhere. And I was like, God, I must be really scarred. And I ran and looked in the mirror and there was nothing apart from this tiny little scratch on the side of my face. And then suddenly I was sitting next to a woman on a courtyard who had the same tiny little scratch on the bottom of her face. And then we like got in some car and drove off into like the sunset. And it was like this incredibly like empowering dream of like, you know, I was so glad that I jumped into that lava. You know what I mean? That was so I kind of overcome so much within that dream that when I woke up, I felt like I'd, you know, gone through 6 months of therapy or something. Felt so much better and so much stronger. It was so without that dream, you know, that helped me out a lot. Just one dream.
It's a good positive experience because it's told to you through. I mean, there is a difference between someone telling you, "Oh, you need to collaborate with more artists," and you know, watch when your ego is trying to consume you, versus a literal volcano, like frightening you, which could mean or something symbolize those same things, but just having that raw feeling is just it could speak to us way more. Okay. Yeah. So I have no idea how to segue out of these things, even though I've been broadcasting for years.
Sure.
Paul White. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I mean, this has been a great thing to do, man. What you do is great. Keep doing it, man. It's a beautiful exercise. It's fascinating.
I'm trying. I'm really trying to see where this goes, and I know that like I don't have a full grasp on what it is that I'm trying to do. I think I have
That's good.
I think I have the
That's
core
good.
of it.
That's all you need, man.
Part. It's like
that's all you need.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
If you had it all, it'd be boring. You'd stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you would know exactly. Like it's like if someone came to you or like, oh yeah, if you make this song, you're gonna influence generations of. It would be weird. Right?
Yeah, it would.
Would you do it if some future version of you is like, Paul, like I have this song. This song explains everything, and he's just like he tells you. I don't know why his voice is super deep.
They always are. Yeah, I'd make it. Damn right. Straight away.
Give me that. I'd probably do it too. I'm not gonna lie. It's like I could fulfill my destiny right now. Let's go.
Yeah, sure. Just because you'd want to know what you'd want to exercise what this voice told you. You'd be so fascinated by the voice. More than what it was. More than like its kind of whole point. It's just like wow. I want to connect with that voice. No matter what it manifests into.
But that's the crazy thing is like. It's almost it sounded like a joke when I was saying it, but it kind of isn't because like what's happening when you sit to make music and you're like what's right and what's wrong, even if you're going with the flow, you know that it's not like out of nowhere. If you started singing a McDonald's jingle, it's not right. You're not singing a McDonald's like what you're supposed to be doing and not for the most part, which is kind of like following a voice that's this is the kind of stuff people don't get if they're not really like practicing listening to these weird sounds and notions that like we do. But.
Sure. I mean, but then everyone has that through their natural feelings, don't they, and instincts in life and the decisions they make in every what way. It's just people don't trust their instincts enough, do they? We're not encouraged to. It's like look at facts, it's trust your gut. Sometimes we need concrete things. Human beings, we get so scared of anything that isn't concrete.
But
you
the
know,
spooky part is like, I mean, this is one of the good things about like, you know, real clinical therapy is like, sometimes your judgment is poor because of things that happened before, and it's like you need
yeah,
someone to kind of be like, okay, you know, like whenever you see a woman walk into a dark alley, you know, and like beckons to you, you probably shouldn't run in run in behind
no,
her.
no,
It's it's a
no,
poor decision.
no, for sure, for sure. Yeah, man, it's all like every, you know, everything we experience every day, every decision, everything's, you know, it's fascinating, isn't it? You know, why we make these decisions, where do they come from? As you say, where do these voices come from to tell us to do this and to do that?
I mean, some of it seems to be. I mean, I've been talking to people about this. I mean, it's like generational experience just genetically passed down to you through culture.
Hmm.
Culture is also.
So,
I'm starting to see it as like a. If you could consider like a body of humans as a damn, I don't even know how to put it. It feels like software culture. It's like it installs a type of way of looking at things,
sure,
and it's
sure.
passed down. Like even our language, you know, it's coded with different ways of looking at stuff.
It's true. It's true. I mean, you know, I think it's important to either question it or, you know, look at it somehow. You know, I mean, I want to question myself. I want to question how my brain thinks and why it thinks in habitual ways and where these things come from. And I'm not even so bothered about where it comes from, but just to, you know, I don't know, you know, move yourself into other unfamiliar areas. You know,
Mm.
it's just so fascinating to see then how you would react. And I mean, studying yourself. I mean, it's been said time and time again. I'm sure you know, studying yourself is that's it. I mean, you know, you can learn more from that than any book or any other. You know, as long as you do that for your life, you know, like just pay attention to yourself. And I think it's, I'm just fascinated. You know, fascinated with the mind and, you know, who we are as human beings and
Same.
everything
Even
about
what
it.
we're doing right now. I mean, I don't know why I'm doing this.
No, sure,
I mean, sure you
sure.
could. I mean, there's stuff that's surface level that you could talk about, like, oh yeah, I hope this video gets 10 million views. You could say that, but it's like it's
Sure,
not
sure.
like at its core, that's not why I'm doing this, and that's not why you're here. Like you're like you're trying to understand things and sort of be
Yeah,
connected, and I think
for sure.
that's connection. I think is something that's really defining. I think it's always been a part of human existence, but like right now with the invention of the internet, I mean, connection and
Sure.
like deeper understanding and just linking is
Yeah,
something that's
yeah.
happening on so many levels, and we're all
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
I have no proper way to finish that
No,
thought.
sure. No, but you're right, you know, and you know, it's great that people, you know, I mean, everything's getting more connected, isn't it? I mean, you know, in a musical sense as well, you know, I mean, I think
Yeah,
it's great that everything's cross-pollinating. There's, I don't know, people, you know, hopefully, you know, it does feel like people are coming together. You know, things are obviously, you know, still got plenty of problems, but you know, hopefully people are coming together a bit more, and you know, there's a global kind of some type of awareness that, you know, we do need to connect more, you know, and the kind of model that's been made up isn't right, and we do need to speak and kind of join together.
Paul White, it's been a pleasure, and this room you've created is incredible. The walls, the plant that's sprouting out into existence itself, traveling forward and back in time. It's beautiful.
Thanks, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've got that same beautiful image in my head. Now I just want to try and make that room for real.
Please do. That's awesome, Paul. It's been a pleasure. Have a good one.
Thank you, man. Take care.
Yo. What I look like, a violin?